watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning once again. I'm glad you're still with us. For those that went with us into the break, we are now heading into our Kickstarter segment, and the discussion is the aspects of the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill that was passed last evening by members of Parliament. I'll be introducing my guests very shortly, but all you need to know is that the Petroleum Amendment Bill is to amend this Petroleum Supply Act of 2023. Those aspects were handled effectively last evening and empowered the Uganda National Oil Company Limited to be the supplier of all imported oil products and or rather oil products to the marketing companies in Uganda for purposes of ensuring, as the government has put it, security of supply of the products, as well as improving product stock holding levels within the country, and to contribute to competitiveness of consumer and retail pump prices. This discussion will examine the proposed clauses that were handled yesterday. Their constitutionality, well, that was pretty much dealt with, and the relevance in light of the existing laws and policies. What we have this morning is a look at what exactly that means in light of the passage of that bill, which now awaits presidential assent. I'm joined by the spokesperson at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Solomon Muyita. Later, we shall have the Member of Parliament for Otuke County, Paul Omara, joining us. Let's begin with the spokesperson at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. In light of the passage last evening of this particular amendment bill, what do we need to take stock of before we begin what could be an excavation of some of the issues that could lead us into a little bit of trouble? Nandalama Fabi said so.
For starters, we would like to appreciate the Parliament of Uganda, especially the Environment and Natural Resources Committee that processed this bill.
Yeah.
My Minister, Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa, tabled it on the 31st of October, and they gave it due attention. They prioritized it. They understood that Uganda needs the policy shift, because we are looking to make it easy for us to do business. We all know that petroleum products are one of the drivers of the economy, so we need to ensure steady supply, what we call security of supply. We need to make sure that the products are affordable on the market. So we are looking, government has been coming up with strategies. Previously, we were using a bit of regulation to ensure that the prices don't escalate. But now we needed to do another kind of thing, and we are looking to minimize the cost at which we get these products into the country. We've been looking at various models. Uganda has always had the best model in this region, until what we had, the open tender system that has been running for more than 10 years, where East African countries would come together and purchase the products in bulk from an international supplier.
That's right.
That was with us, and it worked very well. Everyone got their volumes, and we were able to negotiate as a bloc to get the lowest possible prices. That worked until it was revised by some of the countries closer to the coast, Kenya mainly, from April, made some changes in that system. They started with, trying to take more than we should, because they came up with a policy to the effect that the share of what comes through Kenya, 60 would remain in Kenya, and 40% would come to the rest
East
of
African,
us.
yeah.
That's Uganda, Rwanda, DRC, South Sudan. We were supposed to share 40% of
Wow.
what comes through Kenya, and yet 90% of the petroleum products we use in Uganda comes through Kenya. So that was a bit scary for Uganda, because we could no longer guarantee what we call security of supply. And secondly, the 40% that we were getting was coming to us expensively. In Kenya, the products go through layers of, you know, supply from an international supplier to some Kenyan companies, then some Kenyan companies also sell to some other Kenyan companies, then Uganda buys from. So you go through about 3 layers, and each of these Kenyan companies would
need to make some money.
Yeah, they purchase, but they put a markup.
That's right.
So we were getting petroleum products that were expensive. Now, when Kenya completely moved out of the what we call OTS, or open tender system, they went to a system called government to government. Where they are getting products on credit from the countries where the products. Yes, that's how we also decided to make some revision, and we are saying what they are doing. They are accessing it from the major suppliers. We could do just the same, so that we
only
get out of these layers.
Only that it's actually not the same that you're doing, because Kenya does not, for example, buy from a company that buys from the refineries. Vitol Bahrain has been cited as the company that will be supplying to UNOC.
Yes.
And then UNOC will supply to the oil marketers. Kenya is not going through a certain Vitol out there. It's going to the government, and the government is selling to Nairobi, the government in Kenya. And that's where the difference is. It's understood, or rather feared, I should be very specific, that this is actually not a realigning of the system, but to cause for a monopoly, so that a certain section of the market is sidelined.
One, what we need to note is that we needed to start somewhere as a country. Remember, UNOC has been with us for 10 years. It is supposed to be a major player in the downstream. It's been largely involved in the upstream and midstream. But UNOC was handed the mandate to operate our strategic petroleum reserves, or the terminals in Jinja, and to develop others. For a national oil company to operate well in the downstream, you need to have the infrastructure in place. UNOC is still developing the infrastructure. Now, the company UNOC is choosing to partner with has considerable levels of infrastructure in East Africa. They have big storage terminals in Kenya, and they have even bigger terminals in Tanzania. And if you read our statements, we said the company is going to partner with UNOC to build buffer stocks in Tanzania and Uganda. So you needed someone who already has something for a start. It is desirable for us to go and trade with, you know, pick the products from Saudi Arabia or Singapore, or, you know, but you need to pick it and put it somewhere for starters. Now, if you don't have a partner who has the facilities, then even that model that you know, many people are saying we should have gone to wouldn't work, because you bring the products. First of all, you need to have a system to handle the products, pick the products from wherever, transport them, and store the products somewhere. Our storage terminals in Jinja, yes, they can work, but it may not be adequate for now. The partner we've chosen to work with is not just going to supply the product, but is also going to help us develop a terminal at Impigi where the government already has secured land and it already has designs. We know what we want to do. We are going to put up storage terminals of 320 million liters, similar to what Vito has in Tanzania. So Vito has already developed such infrastructure in the region. And, you know, we know they have the capacity, they have the technical know-how to help us develop the one in Uganda. And it's a good thing. At this point, we know that we can even have that developed ahead of our own refinery that we are looking to set up for our oil, which is coming in 2025. Yeah.
Okay. Very much anticipated, of course, the fact that it's widely believed to be what's going to put the final fuel into the transformation process that we are talking about, especially on the national stage, led by the president. Now, yesterday, listening to members of parliament debating this particular concern, Medin Sereko was concerned about the fact that the capacity of UNOC, which you've rightly addressed, that has now shifted from UNOC to Vitol, that has the facilities, it has the know-how and the manpower to effect this. What is the time frame of Vitol to be able to allow UNOC or build the capacity of UNOC to do the job that it's doing? Because effectively what this does is that it only removes 2 layers of the marketing, can I call it a pyramid, that has been there in the OTS. You know, it only takes and leaves a player there who is very significantly placed, and the other thing is that operates within the system in Kenya that seems to be causing discomfort with Uganda. And that could also be a recipe for an oil war between Uganda and Kenya, but that's a debate for another day. What's the time frame that UNOC has with Vitol to be able to shift capacity levels so that UNOC entirely takes over this? Because that is the premise of this particular law.
My minister has said UNOC signed with Vitol in August. They have a 5-year deal. However, my minister has come out to say that every 6 months we'll be reviewing the performance or the relationship we have with Vitol. Meaning that if we see that certain things are not working very well, you know, the minister can always step in. Good thing this bill, when it becomes law, we are waiting for the president to assent to it.
It's widely expected he could assent to it as early as tomorrow.
Which is a good thing if it happens. So we are saying when something goes wrong, the minister will step in, and the minister can always nominate another company. But also, UNOC as a company can get another kind of veto. UNOC is not, you know, restricted. Is not stopped from sourcing, because the law empowers UNOC to source and supply. So there are 2 aspects. So today you have Vito. If Vito is not doing what is expected, UNOC can still sign with another company, or it can still sign with another government under a G2G. So we are saying, for now we know it will take 5 years. Within the 5 years, we expect the petroleum products to be flowing in. 2, we want to make sure that we have the buffer stocks. 3, they will help us build the capacity, help us develop the infrastructure that we require. And 4, UNOC will be making money. And also that money will be plowed back into the infrastructure, because UNOC is essentially mandated to manage the downstream infrastructure on behalf of the government of Uganda. So we expect this relationship to kick off the beginning of the new year, 2024. and the changes we are hoping Ugandans are going to be the beneficiaries through an affordable price at the pump. When you go to the pump,
you'll be able to,
you should be able to find.
All right, that is of course down to reduction in the price of a litre of petrol and diesel. That is, we shall be looking into that and exactly how it will trickle down. But allow me to welcome the Honourable Paul Omara, the MP for Otuke County, to this particular discussion. You're a member of the Committee on the Economy?
Budget and finance planning and economic development.
Yeah, sure. Yesterday was landmark. Members of Parliament passed the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill. We're now waiting for presidential assent. Before we even go into the nitty-gritty, your good offices, the knowledge of how the economy is run and what this represents to Uganda in light of the fact that we are anticipating our own production of oil. Just give us your perspective and then we shall begin it from there.
Now, thank you very much. As you've indicated correctly, yesterday we passed the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill. And I think what has been grappling the country and all of us in Parliament, I think to the level of the presidency, is whatever the level of macroeconomic stability in terms of a stable exchange rate. Inflation now is at 3.4. A well-managed central bank rate, what we call the CBR.
The CBR.
Bank of Uganda is constantly pushing it down. There has been no change in the fuel prices at the pump.
Yeah.
At one time, we sent a committee of trade to do the investigations, and that report came back to Parliament. And there were suggestions that, you know, there's lack of government intervention in the fuel market. And we should actually have our own reserves in ginger, which is empty. And so we discovered that to fill that thing,
the reserves,
we would need about $40 million. And even if we were to empty it to the country, it will not even last this country a week. That reserve would be empty. So it will require a humongous amount of money to really, for this country to subsidize or run down prices. And so we've been grappling with this. And the only alternative would be a national oil company competing with the rest of the team. And in this particular case, then we actually discovered that what has been happening, I think the technical person is here, we have been having layers and layers of middlemen. Just from the refinery, you have another layer of person getting it from the refinery, then another layer of a person getting it from the other person, then another layer before it gets to us here.
Yeah.
And so the prices could not be managed because of the middlemen. So all of us have been paying money to the pocket of the middlemen. So the effort yesterday is to allow the Uganda National Oil Company to really get that thing right here to us, so that the marketing companies can now buy from the National Oil Company. And we would know, this time we would know how much the National Oil Company is selling it to the marketing companies, the Ugandan companies, these ones who have been here.
Okay.
And so we would believe that that effort would drive down the price of fuel at the pump. Finally, it would be there. If it fails to happen, then, my friend, what would have done, it would have been in vain. So we would want to make sure that the prices at the pump is low. The second thing is that the National Oil Company is a flagship, is our Ugandan flagship company, which is supposed to make money, and that money should go to the consolidated fund. To make money, really, yes, to make money. All this money we have been paying to middlemen, let it go to a national oil company.
That's right.
It will go towards supporting our budget deficits and shortfalls. And in that regard, I think we would be making an effort in the right direction. And of course, as you're aware, Uganda is moving also towards getting our own refinery. So this would be something that would be immediate and short term, but in long term, we will revert back to our own. And a national company, you know, as you know, we have invested interest in that company. They will represent our interests as a country on matters petroleum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a question before I ask some aspect that is, of course, related to. Is there some benchmark that was undertaken? Which country runs this particular model? Is there a country in Africa that runs this model, purchasing oil from a company that goes to the refinery?
For example, Kenya abandoned what they call what? OTS. And then now they're doing government to government. Now for us, what we are simply saying is that, look at Kenya. Kenya is far ahead of us in terms of managing their own fuel sources. Now we have been getting the 40% of the, coming through the Kenya, the 40% then will be distributed to all of us.
Kenya retains 60.
It retains 60, then the rest for us, Rwanda and all these other countries. Like you get the little one. It's the same thing like what was happening during vaccines. We first inject ourselves. Whatever remains, whether you die, wait for 6 months, then we can give you something. So we need to emphasize that matters petroleum and matters on defense and security is a strategic matter that no government should just simply sit and watch. The Americans, as you might think, they have reserves underground. For the government of the US, underground, for them they have money. Unfortunately for us, we don't have money. That's why we're using a strategic partner. But over a period of time, we would want to get to a stage where we should be able, through a budget process, to say, you got a national oil company, here is money. Here is $200 million or $100 million. Go and run this thing. That's where we want to get. So in terms of countries that have done it, developed countries are already far ahead of everybody.
Within the African continent?
As I've said, Kenya has a better arrangements than what we have.
Okay.
For us, we have government to government.
For us, we've retained one layer of the middleman.
One layer. We have retained one layer.
You've taken off 3.
Man.
But Chris, the same, for your information, the same system, what we are retaining is what we've been running as the region.
Okay.
Only that for us, we were a bit disadvantaged as a country because we had to go through Kenya and Tanzania, and those companies in those countries took advantage to be the ones purchasing from the international supplier. Now we are saying we want to go direct. We are just eliminating these other companies. So the system we are running, the system we are moving to is not so different from OTS. It's actually another form of OTS. If later on, right now, has signed with Vitor, but could find another partner.
And in the law, the minister has been given that leverage to look for another partner.
So does UNOC have particular leverage on the how of transportation of the petroleum? How are we getting into Uganda? Are we still using the truck system? Are we using barges on Lake Victoria if it is getting the fuel from the reserves that it has in Tanzania?
For now, we are going to maintain the same transportation system we've been using. We have over 200 trucks that come into the country every day. 200
or tankers?
Yeah, but that situation of petroleum products on the wheels is going to significantly reduce because we have now transportation via the lake. Mahathi Infra, we licensed it as government or as ministry. It is supposed to have 4 barges. Each barge can bring in 4.5 million liters of fuel in one delivery. This month they are launching the second badge. So it means both can go to pick the product and supply 9 million liters in one day. Now, Uganda consumes between 6.5 million and 7 million liters per day. So when you send 2 barges to pick the products, it means you may not need to have the trucks on the road, because the trucks, they are not Ugandan trucks, they are largely owned by Kenyans and Congolese and, you know.
Middlemen, yeah.
Well, they are also making money, but the transportation via the lake is relatively cheaper.
Chris, let me say, yesterday, somebody called me in the night and was saying that the Kenyans are so angry, and they have told...
Who wouldn't be angry when business is being taken out of
when your cake is actually taken away in front of you?
Yeah.
So they were saying that the Kenyans are so angry that they have told these Somali truckers not to go to Eldoret to take in the fuel to bring here. So I don't know what the response of our technical people would be in terms of the supply of fuel to the country for now, because
within this window. That's something. Thanks for that observation.
Yes,
I think
there is a Kenya pipeline company.
Yes.
That brings, there is a jetty at Kisumu and a jetty at Eldoret.
That's right.
So this barge can go and pick from there. And so far, we don't have a problem with the Kenya Pipeline Company. We can get the products. Some of our big oil marketing companies have trucks. The likes of Shell, the likes of Total, they have trucks. And also it's going to be, you know, it's a business decision. If you run a fleet of trucks and there's business available for you, I don't know whether you want to ignore the business and get into the politics of you know,
of the oil.
Yes, but I believe the truckers are going to choose the business. I mean, when we had a disruption here last year at the border, they were stuck there for 2 weeks, but they didn't stop trading, bringing products to Uganda. I believe the businessmen will continue pursuing their business interests, because if you have a willing customer and you have a truck, why do you choose to park it? You know, I don't think.
What about those who were previously offering the fuel to you? The middlemen whom we have made them angry, they're saying now we are the ones who used to bring this to you. Now you've cut off our fingers. Now we would rather sell it to somebody else. You first starve, and we see.
No, the people that have been selling to us are companies, big companies in Kenya.
Yes.
Now the big companies are not necessarily the owners of the trucks. When we are all going to use the Kenyan pipeline company, just like the Kenyan companies use the pipeline to take the fuel closer to, maybe the fuel we get here also goes to northern Kenya through the pipeline.
These are still, somebody called me, no, that is a rumor, somebody called me, said the owners of the fuel are the ones who have told the truckers don't come now.
All right, that reveals something, and that is down to the politics of oil.
The politics of oil,
because yes. One thing we must understand, it's one of the most traded products across the globe.
Yes.
There's a lot of money, and any changes within the system of supply is bound to make somebody uneasy.
Yes.
But let me get down to the politics of this issue. And being a member of parliament, you have a particular, you have the vantage point.
Yes.
Yesterday, the concern was that UNOC, of course, is a limited company.
Yes.
Owned by government. I don't know how the dynamics work there. Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Energy are shareholders in UNOC.
49.51.
49.51.
Yes.
The fear was that the company that has been contracted, which is Vitol Bahrain, or Vitol Group, has interests in one of the oil marketers who is present in Uganda.
Yes.
And that is Vivo Energy.
Yes.
And that presents an advantage for one oil marketer who appears to sit back right now and also be waiting for legislation, yet actually he's the direct beneficiary. I might not be privy to the exact specific aspects of who owns what and where, but the fact that Shell has interests in Vito Group. These interests could be shareholding. What does this present? Because Uganda has often found itself in a bit of dilemma. We have had controversial issues where we've entered contracts, and at the end of the day, members of parliament are asking, how did we get here? And that was something that some members talked about yesterday. Are we getting into a contract that we are again going to burn our fingers willingly?
You know, there are three arms of government. There is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary.
That's right.
And all the three work together in unison. That separation is very thin. Our assumption is that every arm of government would work for the common good, in the interest of Ugandans, and with a lot of goodwill. Now, for us, we look when a bill is brought before us, we look at the facts, the reasonableness, and the impact of that legislation to the citizens, because we do it for the country. We don't do it for ourselves. Now, if somebody somewhere has a different agenda, now I cannot speculate. I cannot speculate and say, oh, there is this agenda here. But we have looked at the bill and we said, if this is actually what has been happening, then we need to do a correction. In terms of the Vivo Shell relationships and the aspect of monopoly, which was raised, that is only coming about because currently as a country, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. The best alternative would have been for us to give, as I said from the beginning, to give UNOC money and say, here is money, $100 million, $200 million, build capacity, go and trade. What we are doing now is a 5-year contract, right? That within that 5-year period, UNOC will be making money. And making money, building its own capacity. Because as I said, even $40 million for us to give them, we couldn't during a crisis because we didn't have the money. So for us, we are looking at, this is a short-term measure of a 5-year period. Let UNOC build capacity. And now when that capacity is built, we now say, okay, over a 5-year period, you've done well, you've accumulated this level of capital, maybe in a 5-year period, our oil would be coming out. They are the ones who are sort of managing it on our behalf. We said, now you have enough capacity to run this thing. Vivo, please, exit. The contract itself would elapse. It would have ended. So I don't think this is something that should stampede us to think there's a big monopoly here. It's a 5-year period, and some of us will be watching them carefully to see what is happening. The Auditor General will be on them and making sure that everything that should happen in a national company should be, and it must be well managed.
All right.
But also,
make sure that is your last word.
the law has been crafted.
The Honorable joined us a little bit late.
Yeah, the law has been crafted in a way that all the companies are going to buy from including Vivo, because we are saying all companies licensed, all OMCs licensed in Uganda are going to buy from UNOC. So even if Vivo owns, even if Vito owns Vivo, Vito is going to hand over to UNOC. Then UNOC, the shares will pick from UNOC. So it's not in a way an advantage. It's not exactly, because they will still go through the same system as the other companies.
All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Yes.
Many thanks, MP, for the perspective too.
Thank you.
We are emboldened by that particular perspective because it helps us understand. But very quickly, for my cobbler to understand, for example, the current price of fuel.
Yes.
What is the projection going to be? How far downwards would this price drop, if at all what we envisage works out exactly the way we want it to work?
He will help me, still a technical matter. It's maths. Let me put it this way. It's simple maths. If we have been having 3 layers of of margins by middlemen. Now we have collapsed, it's only one remaining. So the margins we expect that the margins of these two other companies that were in the middle should now go to ameliorate the price differences that has been there. And that is where we also will hold UNOC responsible in terms of now you're buying because of economies of scale, you are buying low. Because of economies of scale, you are buying low, so then you are selling now to the marketing companies, these companies in Uganda.
That is right.
So we would, as I said in the beginning, we would know how much UNOC has sold to all these companies. And then there we can tell with certainty, inclusive of tax, how far they can go in terms of their margin spread.
That's a futile attempt to reverse the rocket feather scenario.
Right now, the average we are spending on these layers is $35 US dollars per metric ton.
Yes.
35 is quite significant.
It's a significant sum.
Just to make you understand, the trucks charge $100 to transport a product from Mombasa up to Kampala, $100.
Yes.
Now, when you make a saving of 35, not on transportation, but on the other layers we are talking about, $35 US dollars.
Yes.
That should translate into
some significant
some significant amount.
Yes.
That is our prayer.
And we have been making noise. Reduce prices, whatever they said are market forces. Even if factors have dropped.
Honorable Paul Omara, MP Otuke County, and of course one of the ardent watchers of the economy. Many thanks for the perspective, and many thanks to you too, spokesperson of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Solomon Muyita, for joining us this morning. Time now for a short break, but do stay with us. We still have to debate AI, whether it's a foe or friend, ahead of tomorrow's Monitor Thought Leaders Forum that will be talking and of course tackling the fundamental aspect of ongoing transformations in work. Stay with us. I'll be right back.